Good day, viewers, and welcome to today's edition of Now Streaming, your morning show for trending topics and headlines. I am Lavinia Tadugrono, your anchor, and with me here in the studio is...
Good morning, I'm Korede Akitunde.
Yeah, welcome guests. Before we go into our trending stories or our topic of discussion, we would like to go through our daily newspapers. With me here is Nigerian News Direct. And on the masthead here, it says $1.9 billion oil theft, discoveries of illegal tapping points on crude oil pipelines hit 58 in 2 states. And on the kicker, it says illegal bunkering would soon become a thing of the past, says Tom Polo. And below the bottom headlines, no political undertone to Sanwo-Olu's workers' salaries increment move, says Omotosho. And Glo unveils Money Master PSB to boost financial inclusion in Nigeria. Moving on from Nigerian News Direct onto the leadership. And on the sad situation here with the floods, after hell, it's Lokoja. The kicker says leadership deploys drone in telling the story of the misery of many dead, displaced, and businesses ruined by floods in Nigeria's north central region. This can be found on page 4. And above our masthead, transporters hike fares as fuel scarcity lingers. This can be found on page 26. And on page 7, mass desertion retirement loom as military proposes new service scheme. That's all we have on the leadership. And to the New Telegraph, 2023 elections, APC, Northern Christians, Muslims unite against same-faith candidacy. This can be found on pages 8, 27, and 30 of the New Telegraph. The kicker says sets up committee may adopt consensus candidate. Benue chapter's crisis deepens as young Alaji pulls out of campaign council. And finally, Tinubu hopes for a better Nigeria, says Swagger. On the bottom headline, insecurity. Nigerians have lawful rights to bear arms for self-defense, says lawyers. This can be found on pages 3, 14, and 16 of the New Telegraph. And finally, PDP crisis, coalition blasts Wike, Autumn, others. Blames River State Governor and Southeast for loss. This can be found on page 25 of the New Telegraph. And finally, we have this Nigeria and Anambra boat. On the Anambra boat tragedy, 16 dead bodies recovered, scores still trapped. The kicker says rescue continues as Buhari expresses grief over accident. It's a disaster of monumental proportions, says Ngige. This can be found on page 4 of this Nigeria. And the bottom headline, 42 new tapping points uncovered in Delta, Bayelsa, says Tompolo. And other headline says Nigeria-Egypt trade volume hits 141 million, says the envoy. This can be found on page 15. Still on one headline, I will not be intimidated over my Senate election, says Autumn. And this can be found on page 12. And finally, Dangote Cement alleges damage of factory in Kogi as a result of the floods, I guess, on page 14. And that's all for our daily newspapers. So briefly, sir, this discoveries of illegal tapping points on crude oil, might it be the reason why the fuel queues are back again?
Well, I think there are two different things. Okay. Illegal tapping of oil is just a discovery that, in my opinion, the government is just trying to put at the front burner. Right. This has been happening, and the government cannot claim not to know about that tapping.
Yeah.
And that's not what is causing the fuel scarcity in Abuja and the north. Actually, the flooding in Lokoja is the cause
is the
for
main reason.
that. And also on the issue of Dangote, it's actually not the flooding that is causing the damage, but the tussle between the state government and the Dangote factory on issue of ownership. The Kogi state government is laying claim to the ownership of the cement factory. And that's that. But on the issue of the tapping of oil, I think just like some people will say, in Nigeria, the more you look, the less you can see, and the possibly more you sounds to be confused, because it is very unimaginable for government to say that they are not aware about all those things. I don't think that should not even come up. The government should not even say they don't know about it. If such pipeline has been running for close to a decade, and you say you don't know about it, I mean, these are things that work with technologies. The pressure in such pipe would have reduced, and that should call attention of the authorities to know that something is happening. I mean, for some of us who pass through the science class knows that when a pipe is to be running at a particular pressure and is not running at that particular pressure, then that means there's a leakage.
There's a leakage.
And so
and hence this problem.
Yes, so government coming out now to say that they are not aware, it's not something that is tenable. I mean, it's just for them to actually let us know those who are involved. And these things have been said all over, and thank God for ACNN released a video of Mr. Peter Obi when he attended the Church of Nigeria Standing Committee, where he made mention of some of these things. So it's funny to know that after he said such thing about just 3 weeks ago, the discoveries are coming out. He made mention of it. The videos are trending online for people to watch. Also, people like the General Overseer of Redeem has also made mention of some of these things, sometimes in May or so, to know that who are the people stealing this oil, who is buying it, who are the collaborators. I mean, all these questions needs to be answered. It's not just for the NNPC, GMD, and the CDS to just go and carry some press people to do, for me, what I term a show of shame. It's a show of shame for a country not to realize that something is missing. And you are telling us it's over 9 years. How did you know it's over 9 years that it's been there? Has it not been there possibly since decades? So those are the questions that are on the mind.
Viewers, we will be going on a short break. Please do stay tuned. When we return, we will discuss a topic in details.
Popular Bata market, as you can see right at the rear, it has been completely overrun by the flood. It's one of the worst affected area as a result of this flooding effect. This road leads through Kabawa, Natako, running through the Abuja road end. So at the moment, commuters, vehicles have been completely debarred of using this road. Rather, we are at the mercy of boats, or flying boats. Most people, we have the market here, the popular market, the market. Most marketers, buyers and sellers have been completely displaced. They are operating in a very delicate, dangerous manner. That means the economy of this state in the past, as it has to do with this side of the state, have been completely affected. And this is the state of situation now. We're only hoping that water recedes so that people can go back to their economic livelihood. Thank you very much.
From Christ Anglican Church.
That's right.
This is Peta Market, where we are doing our business. You can see that water has surrounded everywhere. Our market are not moving fine. Because of this water, we now shifted to the front. And the market are not going well again. People are not coming. People that are coming across the water, that they are not coming. And things are not moving fine. In fact, it's so difficult for us now. We don't know when this water will go back. But our prayer is that God will help us, that the water will go fast, so that we'll continue our business. Even the water affected my house and so many of our church members, not only our church members, so many people in Adankolo New Layout. Like myself, I'm not staying in my house. Water have drove me out from my house to Ganaja Junction, where my people are squatting me. And the other peoples, we scattered everywhere now. In fact, may God help us.
Amen.
It's affecting me much because by coming here through this Felelelo, no road to come. And I don't know how to enter Kenya. So the thing is affecting me. Small load that we carry, they will be charging you in Kenya 1,000, 2,000. Why will go so this is affecting most of our customers. They are not coming, they are afraid. Because they hear say water have covered the whole market. So anybody just sit here and go. They don't want to come. They are afraid of that. That's how it is affecting. Nobody is coming to buy food. To come themselves, very hard for us. At times I will follow, pass through for 8. Russia, before I reach here. Before you got some of the other, this is affecting us much. Last Sunday, somebody promised me that he would take me to church, but I didn't see because I didn't go to church. Just worship God and pray in my house. It's affecting what I did.
Well, definitely, we can see that this flood of this year is quite unfortunate. It's more than that of 2012. It has affected us negatively because you can see we don't have customers anymore because before you get to old market, you have to take boats, which so many people are afraid of water. And then when you want to convey through the land, it's quite difficult and much expensive because the transportation of which we give now is kind of double to what we used to pay before now. So it has a very negative impact in our businesses. These days we don't even have more sales. Do you understand? So I can actually say the negativity is quite much. We have dull markets, and when you go to the market to buy things, you have to pay double to triple to transport your goods to this place, and then you have to add money to the price of which you sell. So we'll just pray it goes soonest.
If you're just joining us, this is now streaming on ACNNTV, coming to you live from Abuja. Now, our country's annual tragedy of rampaging floods is at its worst this year. It is estimated that more than 300 persons have been killed by the floods that are somewhat beyond control. Out of Nigeria's 36 states, 27 are battling currently with the floods. Even Abuja is under threat of this flood sweeping from Kogi State capital, Lokoja. Large numbers of families have been affected and displaced. Persons keep increasing. Thousands of hectares of farmland have been destroyed. Hunger is clear and present danger as the agriculture chain has been grossly disrupted. Viewers, you're welcome to the discussion segment where we'll be discussing the topic, the flood jeopardy in Nigeria, damages and the way forward. Now joining us virtually is the Most Reverend Emmanuel Ibunu. He is the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Lokoja. Also with us is the Right Reverend Prosper Ama. He is the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Obaru. The Right Reverend John Osioma Aruakpo is the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Ole. And Reverend Canon Joseph Iloba, he is a priest from the Anglican Diocese of Asaba. Also with us is Dr. Peter Madu. He is the Chairman, Church of Nigeria Relief Committee, and you're all welcome guests. So we're going straight into this, and sir, from the Lokoja Diocese, the Bishop, your Grace, sir, what is the situation report from your diocese so far, and the losses recorded? We've just watched the video from Lokoja.
As they say, pictures tell the story best. It has been a very difficult situation in the sense that people just find that from being house owners, they are ejected by flood and become squatters. It is even worse in the rural areas because these are people who have job to invest in their farms, rice farms, cassava farms, and all of a sudden the whole thing is overrun. So even though the water level has stopped last as people Sunday night, this morning, it's said to be coming down gradually, but of course the farms that have been overrun cannot be recovered anymore. Houses, especially mud houses that have been dissolved, require far more time to build. Businesses that have been taken over, people do need time to rehabilitate. So it's really.
All right, from basically what we have discussed earlier, what are we doing in our dioceses to avoid such an occurrence in the future?
Is that to me?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Grace.
Okay. Well, there's not much that the diocese can do if the government does not come in with its full weight, because the diocese lives within a state. These really are unnecessary problems if the right things have been done.
My Lord Bishop of Ogbaru, we've seen the level of the pictures we've seen from your diocese too, how the bishops' court, the secretariat, even the cathedral has been taken over by this ravaging flood. My Lord, first I think we have to commiserate with you because also yesterday reports have it that 76 persons were drawn in Ogbaru local government, and so can you give us situations of things from your hand, sir?
I must confess that the 2022 flood has overwhelmed us in so many ways, which is quite unfortunate. From our end, the tragic situation that occurred last week that claimed over 76 lives, the trauma is still with us here, because these are the things that could have been avoided if the government has done the needful. Let me start by saying that our government at all levels, have been aloof regarding this annual flooding. Because if the government especially the federal government, as His Grace made reference to that issue of dredging of the River Niger. If they have done the needful, I don't think that flooding will continue to be an issue in Nigeria. Outside dredging of the River Niger, the government ought to put some, stoppages whenever these dams are opened. Of course, they should calculate well before opening them. For me, they should do that 3 times in a year, and nobody will feel the negative impact. Obaru, as it is now, 85% of the entire place has been submerged. And don't forget that Obaru is an agrarian community. In fact, most of food we eat in this country come from Obaru. Outside being an agrarian community, most of prominent, notable industries in Nigeria are domiciled in Obaru. And these factories or industries are badly affected. Talk of markets, the popular relief market, the popular electronics market, these are domiciled in Obaru and are not left out in this menace. So we are calling on the government, the APC federal-led government, to dredge the River Niger. I tell you, as I speak to you now, most of our churches, especially in the hinterland, are submerged. It was difficult for us to hold services yesterday. We waited for the government, they weren't forthcoming, and we opened our own camp to give shelter to our people. We created camp last week at Emmanuel Castle of Refuge, one wonderful edifice put up by the Diocesan women. Is now serving us as IDP camp. And we are waiting on the government to come and do the needful. Thank God for the Church of Nigeria. The relief committee last week, through the primate, has promised to release 500,000 to us. Kudos to Church of Nigeria. First in the series to come to our aid. I tell you, God helping us. We are doing the needful to give shelter, solace, comfort, and hope to our people.
So,
Thank you.
My Lord, like how many people do you have in that camp now?
By the time we left, because we have some of our clergy, the church teachers, the clerks, and their families. And then our members, even the Attorney Police Division moved to that same camp. So we have a section housing the police, a section for the workers, and then another section for the lay members of not just our church, of the community. So roughly, people we put there should not be less than, let me say, 150. 150. As at last week, I will go there sometime this week to ascertain the situation.
So how do they feed? How have they been taken care of, sir?
We are making provision. We contacted our representative in the State House of Assembly. Of course, the deputy governor was there last week, but nothing has happened from their end. Then the Transition Committee chairman visited. We are in touch with all of them. So the little we have been supplying. But I tell you, they are not hungry. They are not, by the grace of God.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. Still back to the Bishop of Obaru that we just spoke to now. What is your advice to the government and masses in averting such an occurrence in the future?
Okay, as I said before, dredging of the River Niger is not an option. It must stop the priority. Not just to contain the flood, but it will open up the seaport at Onitsha. I don't know what is delaying the dredging of that River Niger. Because if the River Niger has been dredged, I tell you, when they open the dam at Cameroon and Kainji and other dams, the River Niger will have the capacity to contain volumes of water. And it will not overflow, causing flood, ravaging farmlands. What caused the mishap last week in our area was as a result of passengers with their farm produce conveying into a nearby market to sell. Because of the flooding, they engaged in premature harvest. The thing has not properly, matured, but they have to harvest so that the flood will not render them useless.
Right.
That was what happened. So dredging of the River Niger remains should be priority at this time.
Right.
Thank you.
Outside that, what I called opening of the dam in a calculated manner. They shouldn't wait until the middle of rainy season to open the dam. They shouldn't do that. They should calculate it maybe 3 times in a year. I tell you, nobody will feel the negative impact anymore.
Right.
But the government is not sensitive at all. And I want to put it on record here. If the government fails to do the needful, it's obvious that somebody is benefiting from this menace. Yes. Because where is the NEMA? They ought to have surfaced in Obado by this time. But we have not seen them. So some people are benefiting from our pains. We are in terrible pains, and some people are benefiting from it. Which kind of country is this? So they should do the needful. Dredge the River Niger, put some stoppages that will slow the speed of this flooding. Once these things are put in place, I tell you, no part of this country will feel this kind of disaster anymore, because people call it natural disaster. I term it artificial. It's not a result of climate change. It's not it. We created it because from reports available to us that when Cameroon put up their dams, they hinted Nigeria to do the needful so that when they open their own, Nigeria has the facility to put whatever thing that will come out of that place under check. But our government was aloof. Look at the negative impact and pains they have created for us.
Right.
All right, my lord, thank you for that. Let's go to Asaba. We have Reverend Canon Joseph Ilova. Canon, sir, can you tell us the situation in Asaba?
Thank you very much, my brother. The situation in Asaba Diocese right now is a serious one, especially in 2 of our archdeaconries, namely Okwe and Asaba East. The 2 archdeaconries were all suffering of this flood. I want to bring to the house that since last month, we have not worshipped in our churches, including myself. You see that all our members have been displaced, all in this area, all. No one is exempted, all have been displaced by this flood, and nothing has been done by the government. I want to appreciate my Lord Bishop, the Right Reverend Kisley Chukwukamado, who also take the body home by setting an ID camp at one of our church hall, at the All Saints Church Hall. And presently we are having over 148 persons in that camp. And I also want to appreciate the primates of our church for sending some money to us. So it came at the right time.
we are suffering. We have lost, the members of our churches have lost their properties because no one expected this type of flood in a time like this. Even you can see me at that video, I had an accident last month. I have to go to my station in order to see what is happening there. Only for me to get there and see that every of my properties already there, done, including my electronics. And this happened to every members of my church and all areas that the flood has covered in a time like this in Asaba Diocese. And so we are looking unto God now. By the grace of God, the diocese is feeding the people there 2 times a day, morning and evening. And it is not easy at all because as I'm talking to you right now, more people are coming to the camp. More people are coming into the camp. More people. People are members and non-members. Because we have no choice, we have to accommodate them. Saying the government delaying opening their own camp. So we have to accommodate them. At least as of this morning, when I went to the camp, we have over 29 non-members of our church in our camp. And I'm expecting more because the proposed camp close to All Saints Church where we have our own, people are there, but there's no attention of the government. Government are not there. They have not even showcased nothing there. I have even approached them if they can look for mosquito net by themselves, at least sleep so they can be safe from malaria. And one of them complained that they were robbed last night at that school compound. The government proposed to open as a camp. That's for you to rob them last night. Wow. You can see people suffering, and also the little property they save are being taken away from them. So it is a very great experience, but a bad one. A bad one.
Thank you, Canon.
Yesterday.
Thank you, Canon. Let's just quickly touch on the Bishop of Ole, Right Reverend Orapo. My Lord, sir, if you can unmute yourself so that we can hear you, can you tell us how your diocese is faring on this disaster, sir?
Yeah, thank you so very much for this opportunity to speak to the world concerning what we are passing through in our diocese. About 10 adjudicaries in our diocese have been taken over by the flood. And about, 3 persons, we've lost 3 persons as a result of the flood. We were trying to, some were trying to go to harvest their crops from the farm using boat. So the boat collided, and in an attempt to rescue, they lost 2. One of our adjudicaries, as he woke up in the morning, and the flood has come up to cover the whole place. In attempt to evacuate their things and go, they lost another person in that place. And in fact, all our workers in that place have moved down to the upland here. We have about 4 or 5 adjudicaries in the upland, all others in the water. Yesterday, I had to visit some of the churches where the flood has come into. In fact, some of them came to the church with canoe to worship. And the place is really bad. It's a bad experience. It's a very bad experience. I know it's going to be a tough time, especially to take care of the people, the workers at this time, because no service will be held from now on, and the water is still rising. As it empties from Lokoja, from Benue, as it empties down to the Delta area here, the water here is going up and is still rising. And so we don't know the end yet, because while it's getting dry up there, but here it's increasing. So we have a real challenge over here now.
My Lord, so one question. What has the government done so far? Have you felt their presence
in your area?
In assisting?
Yes, they just open up ID camp in the 2 local government areas that ADAS is covered. One in the north and one in the south. They just opened the one of the south just 2 days ago, and people are coming into the place now.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, my lords. Let's hear from the chairman of the uh, Church of Nigeria Relief
Committee,
Committee,
Dr. Peter Madu.
Dr. Peter Madu is also on the line. Good
Praise
morning, sir. Can
the
we
morning sent to us
find out from you? I know some of our bishops have acknowledged what your committee is doing through the primates.
Right.
Please, can you give us more details and possibly if there are more things that are on the way to support dioceses, because these are just few of those
Yes.
that are affected.
First, let me start with a further expression of the commiserations of His Grace, the primate of our church, at whose instance we are carrying out this function, and also to reiterate his desire and love of the compassion ministries as part of his primacy, which of course is dedicated to the reign of God. We commiserate especially with all the dioceses that have lost people and people of all communities who have lost people. We are sad that so much properties and means of livelihood has been lost in the course of these floods. It's sad. Again, accept the commiserations of our primates and indeed all members of the Anglican Communion to all the affected persons, and it remains our desire that His Grace and our Lordships and every person who represents the church will continue to convey that to all the affected persons. We are in direct contact with many of our dioceses that have experienced floods, some of whom are represented here. More places are affected, and in fact, what many people don't know is that the floods have also affected members even in faraway places like Jigawa, parts of Kutigi Diocese, and even some parts of Doko Diocese. Virtually every part of the country that is in the floodplains of both the rivers Niger and Benue have been heavily impacted. It's been very bad along the course of River Niger because of the huge volume of water that has come from every place, and unusually large volumes too coming out of the Benue River. So all the dioceses, Ida, Ole, Niger West, Ogbaru. I also hear from the Bishop of Mbamili that almost every part of that diocese is actually underwater. And all the way down, like we also heard from the Bishop of Ole, it's been quite a situation for many of our people. The essence of the disaster response of the Church of Nigeria really is the immediate focus is on the human beings. We want all the people affected to be able to also maintain and hold on to their humanity. And that is the essence of the commiseration and getting in touch with people and letting the people know that they are not alone. So we want them to hold their spirits high so that they can continue to relate to one another and to continue to live in hope. And with that, it is now possible for us to begin to do everything. And like it says, when you are trying to pull somebody up, it helps if that person is also willing to be pulled up. And that is the essence of all the messages in the first instance. Let's commiserate with each other. Let's pray for each other. Let's encourage one another that as bad as it is, we have a caring God and we also have a caring church so that we can pull each other, and even as members of our church pull themselves, they can also help other members of the community because the churches, our members, don't live in isolation. So we believe that wherever they are, as bad as the situation may be, whatever we are also able to do or whatever they are also able to do for themselves, they should also extend to the larger community so that together we can pull people out. But the starting point is that people's spirit must be maintained. They must know that we have a living God,
Right.
a caring God, and also a caring church. And together, once that spirit is inside the human person, all the efforts that will come later are easier to harness and easier to pull.
Right.
Then we also face the human being and the relief that the church has been able to send to the dioceses from the little that the church also has. It's not meant to solve all the problems, but to give a point of immediate assistance.
Right.
Somebody who is out of his house, like we've had, what the people want is, so what are the most critical and immediate needs? Shelter, food. So if people have a place to lay their heads and protect themselves from the elements, they can then begin to look to the next need, which then becomes food. When those two are, then we begin to look at the issues of clothing and so on. And then as we are able to settle all that, we can then begin to get to all the secondary and tertiary needs before we start getting them back to their means of livelihood and all that. That is the focus of the church. Of course, long after all this is gone, for the relief committee, we also still have issues, come and manage all the post-traumatic issues that would have arisen from all this. It's traumatizing when somebody who has suddenly does not have. Even when he gets back, there are so many issues that still have to be managed as we go forward. But let me just, for this place, let me just stop it at this point. That what we want to do and what we try to do as a church is to encourage the entire church to pull together to help all those who are in need. We must all come together and make sure all these people are not on their own, they are not alone, and that we have a caring church all behind them. And that is why the leader of our church has demonstrated and its urgent response to all the people so far, that they are not alone in this situation. And we are giving everyone also the opportunity to do what Christ has asked all of us to do. In the words of Matthew chapter 25, especially starting from verse 35. When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was thirsty, when I didn't have clothes, did you give me clothes? When I was homeless, did you give me a place to come into? So the message for us also is to all of us that when disasters like flood come, we have an opportunity to carry out or to do something Christ will be happy with. That when our brothers and sisters needed these things, we were there for them. Floods is one bad one where it happens. And of course, we've had other incidents, attacks from herdsmen, all the kind of things that are happening in our society.
All right,
but for
sir.
us as a church, we want to help people to
very quickly, sir. Very quickly before you, very quickly before we move on, sir, we just like to know: have you partnered as the Church of Nigeria Relief Committee? Have you partnered with the government, to reach out to other people? And secondly, have you seen any eagerness or preparedness by the government in response to this crisis? Very quickly.
Let me make it very clear. The expectations, there are layers, and the Anglican Church is a church of absolute order.
Right.
We have order, we have procedures, we respect authority, and we respect our leaders. In matters like this, Relief Committee will look at all the issues as they are. Some are handled at the level of the parishes, and that one, His Grace, the primate of all Nigeria, has since directed that all our parishes across all churches in Nigeria, and almost every bishop and many churches have already done that. They're supposed to have small food banks where they can be able to respond to matters when somebody needs food and so on. But we can also understand that when massive relief disasters like this come, even some of those food banks where they were established are already underwater. Right. So they are already affected. Then the next layer is at the level of the dioceses. They see what they can do to help each other and support each other. Again, at the level of dioceses, our leaders there will take issues as they come and relate as our leaders with the local government and local authorities. Then we are also grouped into ecclesiastical provinces.
Yeah.
As our brothers in the Lord come together, matters that are beyond one single diocese are collated and dealt with at the level with the government at those appropriate levels.
Right.
And then when the things are bigger than what all the provinces can handle, of course, we have a leader at the center who is not only able to take those matters up at the federal level, but he can also go back to any of the states and use the influence and eminence of his office to reinforce those needs. So what Church of Nigeria does in matters like this, we also have ACADI, the Anglican Compassion and Development Initiative, which is the NGO of the Church of Nigeria, which also does all the partnering with other NGOs. And again, as we see matters that we are able to, at that level, NGO level, relate and work with appropriate NGOs across the country or government agencies, that is done at that level on behalf of the church.
All right, sir.
When we need things that go to government, of course, we do not go outside our church authorities to go and start discussing independently.
Thank you, sir, Dr.
I'm sure you
Madu.
appreciate that.
We are almost out of time, and we just have to get some concluding words from our Lord Bishops. So let me start from Bishop of Ole. So your last take and your word of encouragement to the people affected in your diocese.
We want to let them know that we are standing with them, and we are praying for them, and we are seeing what they are passing through, and whatever we can do, we keep on doing it. Whatever is their challenges, they should not. We have our priests who are always going to be there to find out from them, and so they should open up and tell them that which we can do, we do. And I also want to use the opportunity to appreciate His Grace, the primate of our church, for the help they have sent to us, and which will also communicate to them that the Church of Nigeria is with them even in this trying period. So we pray for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my Lord. And we go to Bishop Ogbaru. Bishop Prosper, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me appreciate the Primate of all Nigeria again for his support to us in the Diocese of Obadu. And I want to assure my people that the Diocese of Obadu, where God reigns, is strongly behind them. In the words of our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, that we should look unto Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith. Let me conclude by saying that we learn every day. This particular experience has taught me a big lesson. And I want to tell us in the Church of Nigeria that God helping us. After now, we must come out stronger to the glory of God.
Amen.
Thank you, my Lord. Canon from Masaba. Canon Joseph, are you there, sir?
Any last words?
Let me use the opportunity to again appreciate the primate for the support. A quick response from him. We appreciate you, your grace. And again, the people of our diocese, they are affected by the flood. The Lord Bishop is with you. He can never let you go. He had vowed that none of us under this attack will go hungry. I'm doing everything possible to make the people comfortable wherever they are. And he also standing by his word. Do not lose your faith. Remain faithful, and he will not disappoint you. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
sir.
And so, Your Grace, sir.
Yes, I definitely would like to again, as I did before, thank the primate for lending a helping hand to us, and also Dr. Madu. That call encouraged us, made us feel we are not alone in this difficult situation.
So thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. I think it's the flood situation is something
very sad, tragic.
In 2012, I think I experienced the one in Lokoja.
Oh yes,
it was
I heard that this year, it's just exactly 10 years from 2012.
Yeah,
you know the impact.
Yeah, the impact was terrible, and it's something that you can't envisage. I mean, for someone like me, I look at the road I normally pass through to almost on every day, and then suddenly you get there, it's no more somewhere you can even dare to touch.
The images are scary.
Yeah, it's scary for buildings that are possibly one-story building. You are just seeing the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the height of the water. I mean, it's not, you see filling stations that you're just seeing the roof of the filling stations. So it's quite troublesome and very scary. But our prayers are with everyone who are going through this at this moment.
And obviously this is causing a serious problem with commuters, like you mentioned earlier, that the fuel scarcity is as a result of this. So it's causing economic problems as well.
The tankers are unable to move, vehicles are stranded, and I also think we need to just call on security operative because I heard a story that some people are even being kidnapped. Right,
oh my God, right in the midst of all this.
People are being kidnapped along that this traffic, and some had to pay ransom from what we had. If that is true, I think government needs to ensure that. But of course, from all what we've seen, the government response is terribly slow.
Yeah, it is.
Terribly slow.
If anything, the Church of Nigeria is doing way more than the government is doing. We hope that the help and the relief that will come is not just immediate, but actually a permanent plan and solution to this problem, so we don't get to experience this. Right. As we draw the curtains, we send our condolences to all Nigerians, to those who have lost loved ones as a result of this disaster, and to those who have experienced any form of loss. Our thoughts and prayers are with you as we pray for a speedy response to end this. That's all for today. I'm Lavinia Tadegrono and
Korede Akitunde. Thank you.
Do remember to join us tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.